Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the Touchline Hotspur podcast. I'm on hosting duties this week. Picked a great time to be a host because it's been probably the best week that we've had as Spurs fans since the start of 2021, to be honest. But listen, it's a very happy camp right now. Not too many bad vibes at present, but we'll speak about the bad vibes that have plagued our club from literally day one through to present anyway. But I'm joined by a couple regular co-hosts as well. Jack, what are you saying, man? How you doing today?
Yeah, but like you said, better, man. It's been a rare week, like a week like this. So yeah, I'm taking it, absorbing it as much as I can.
Yeah. Aren't we all, mate? Aren't we all? Owen, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, no, I'm very good. Thank you very much, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, man. I'm great. If life feels different when Spurs are winning, man.
It does. I see some more of those Instagram story posts when we're winning as well. I love to see it.
Yeah, I'm even wearing the merch now. I took a bit of a blackout, a Spurs blackout in terms of the merch. I said I refuse to wear I refuse to wear anything with Spurs colors or Spurs badges until we actually started winning. And lo and behold, we're doing it. And then of course, last co-host for the week, recently new member as well. You were on the last pod. You're a busy bee now. I'm seeing you in other pods as well. Like really stamping his presence in the Twitter world. Dave, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm doing better than our right-hand side of our defense.
Listen, boy, a lot of people are doing better than the right side of our defense. But
yeah, no, I'm good. Not as busy as you, Tops, but yeah, all good.
Yeah, man. It's as I said, it's a good week. Well, I feel like everyone's in a positive mood as well. So I feel like I'm liking the energy that we got today anyway. Before we actually get into it, for those who are listening as well, make sure you are followed. You're following our socials, Spurs _ Touchline on Twitter and Touchline Fracas YouTube. And then, of course, on Instagram as well, make sure you follow us, Spurs _ Touchline there as well. We want to hear your views. We want to hear your thoughts. So just come at us, leave a comment, follow us, subscribe, whatever. Let's actually get into the nitty gritty of the podcast. So as we said, we can't overstate how well this week has gone for us, or this recent week. And I want to start off with the previous the Sunday Premier League match against Burnley. Emphatic 4-0 win. Gareth Bale at the brace, clean sheet. Alderweireld back in defense. A couple things we can talk about, but Dave, I'm gonna come straight to you, man. We have to talk about Gareth Bale. We have to talk about the form that he's shown in the last 2-3 weeks, man. Is it fair to say that he's threatening to have some sort of renaissance towards the final stage of this season?
Yeah, and I think it's been a long time coming, isn't it? I think what we're seeing now, we're seeing him trust his body. I mean, he trusts himself physically, which is what you need in the Premiership. The Premier League doesn't take no prisoners, doesn't care for your reputation. Doesn't matter whether you're worth £100 million or not. Do you know what I mean? It's a physically demanding league, and I think with the lack of football he's had over the past 2 to 3 years, and the injuries he got coming into our side, I think he just physically wasn't up to it. But we're starting to see some good touches. He's backing himself now, taking on defenders. What I really like, and this is why I think he might even have a little bit of part to play in a 10 role for us, we'll see. His passing has definitely improved over the past few weeks. The assist for Kane's goal, was it 60-yard pass or something? Just completely picked him out. And it's what we've been doing, isn't it? We've been hitting teams on the counter-attack. So, he's definitely got a part to play. And yeah, I hope that he just keeps scoring and keep locking down that right wing, because the other options aren't too great, let's be honest.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Oh, yeah, there was a bit of an echo there. But yeah, the options are not great at all. And I think the one thing I want to emphasize with Gareth Bale, and even we'll get on Dele in a second as well, but the one thing I want to emphasize about Gareth Bale, and I'm sure you lot all agree, is the fact that there is finally someone else in addition to Kane and Son that the opposition has to worry about. I think all season, even when we were winning, this podcast was quite consistent in the fact that the supporting cast need to step up. Kane and Son can't be expected to bail us out week in, week out, week in, week out. And it's just so refreshing that we finally have another match winner on the pitch potentially when he's on song. And it takes the burden off their shoulders. Son didn't even score. I know he obviously had a couple of assists, but Son didn't even score on Sunday and we won 4-0. When how many times have we been able to say that this season, that we win by such a margin and Son's not even on the score sheet? Harry Kane only scoring 1 goal. How many times do we get to say it this season? Not often. Jack, I want to come to you next on this as well. One half of Lamora, as I call him, an agent of chaos, as I call him, Bonehead City, as I call him. But listen, Lucas Moura in this 10. We were talking about it before the game. We were up in arms saying, what's Jose playing out? What's he on? Lucas Moura had a good game. Tell me about Moura in this 10 row and tell me about how you felt he was against Burnley and how you think he can help us heading into this final third of the season.
Well, I'll say this. It's not sustainable. Him in the number 10. That's not going to be sustainable. Let's just put it out there. But having said that, when the team is playing at such a high intensity, when there's a lot of fluid movement, and obviously when you have the quality of Gareth Bale, Heung-min Son, and Harry Kane, the quality in terms of creativity, because they all have it, he's going to thrive. He can't not thrive. And
you'd be
even
shocked,
in that,
bro. You'd be shocked.
He's thriving more than others, but let's not speak on that. But yeah, what I'll say is, he got his goal. When the team was playing with that intensity, it is very, I'd say, contagious, and it does kick on. I think an example of that is when Lamela comes on and shows that intensity. Whenever he does that, the team sort of ramps it up a little bit. And whenever the team as a whole is playing with that level of intensity, that urgency, Lucas Moura is going to he's going to find himself in spaces. You're going to have, the quality of Gareth Bale and Harry Kane picking players out. And yeah, it worked in that particular game. But we don't want to be seeing this regularly. Let's just say that. We want to be seeing Dele behind that 10. We want to see him getting back on form. That is what it is. And so I'm not going to read too much into it because it is Burnley at the end of the day. Even though it's normally a banana skin, it is Burnley.
Yeah, it is Burnley. But listen, you got to take the W's when you can get them, man. We've been Hank Marvin out here. We've been starving, man. Our bellies have been rumbling all 2021. So anything, I'm clinging on to it, man. I'm clinging on to it with no shame whatsoever. So I'm snatching that Burnley win. And on that game, Owen, I want to come to you next on this. Alderweireld and Davinson Sanchez. I don't know why it seems like there's a weird echo that keeps happening. But anyway, Davinson Sanchez, Alderweireld, it's not a partnership that we've seen a lot of this season. It was a partnership that we did see a lot of last season under Jose. What did you make of their performance? And are you comfortable with this centre-back pairing in the games to come? I know we're going to obviously talk about Fulham and then preview Crystal Palace, but I'm talking from now up until the end of the season. Give me your thoughts on that partnership.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was pleasantly surprised that he rocked with that partnership against Burnley. This was a partnership that I had called for a few weeks ago as kind of our most sustainable one, which we could kind of play for a few games just to kind of develop a little bit of continuity there, because I didn't feel like us chopping and changing centre-back partnerships was doing us any favours. I was expecting Burnley to rock up with Vokes and Wood. For whatever reason, they were unavailable. So I think we got away with one there, to be honest, because Sanchez does tend to struggle against some more of your more physical centre-backs. But I felt that partnership worked well. Again, it was against favourable opposition in terms of the whole team, especially their strikers. They had Jay Rodriguez and Matic Vidra, and I felt like especially Sanchez in this game, he was winning all of his duels. I don't remember him even losing one, especially just all across the floor. which suited him obviously a lot more. But yeah, I wanted to give Sanchez a special mention for that game because his performance kind of went under the radar a little bit after Bale's kind of Renaissance performance. But yeah, overall, it gave me a lot of confidence to have them build on that performance going into our set of favourable games, to be fair.
Yeah, you're right. Favorable. We do have a favorable run of Premier League matches, Arsenal away aside, and it is an opportunity, or it was an opportunity for us to pick up points, and that's what we've done. Did it against Burnley, got the job done, boosted the goal difference, and then I think now we can pretty much move on to Fulham because I really want to speak about this game at length because I feel like this was sort of a Jekyll and Hyde performance from us, something that we've become accustomed to seeing this season. Although this game was probably a Jekyll and Hyde performance for the obvious reasons. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I feel like fatigue set in with a lot of our squad members yesterday, and then I feel like some players that we've not been able to rely upon just did what they've done all season and just not be dependable. Dave, I'm going to come to you on this as well. What were your thoughts when you saw that lineup yesterday? I mean, Basque, as they call it, lining up for the first time this season. Dele's first start since the opening game of the season as well. But then the negative side, the fullback pairing of Ben Davies and Matt Doherty. What were your thoughts on that lineup? And did you expect Jose to pick that group of players?
No, I thought we'd have Aurier at right back. I'm not surprised with Reguilon not playing 2 games in a row. He's definitely our main guy, and I think playing him at the weekend, especially we've got Europa next week, so you can rest that game. Hopefully, maybe and then obviously we've got a big game after that. So I thought we'd see Aurier, but we didn't. We saw the man that we signed to play at right back. I can't call his name because I can't stand him. And for me, it just depresses me because of all the excitement of seeing, the front four and thinking, right, it's going to click. The thing is, with us, if we don't have an attacking option on the flanks, it just gets very stale very quickly. And I think that's what we saw yesterday. Like I said, Jekyll and Hyde, and I think it was a Jekyll and Hyde lineup. I think I was also surprised to see Toby play twice. And I'm thinking, does that mean he doesn't play against Palace? I hope not. I think we should be in a position now you can play against Palace, rest next week, maybe in Europa. But yeah, I was just a bit like, oh, okay, we're going to concede. Let's hope we can score enough goals before they concede. And it was a really, really weird game. It kind of petered out. And we had our usual second half dip. I don't know what happens at halftime, but we never come out strong for those 10, 15 minutes, even if we're up 3-0. It tends to be quite shocking, some of the performances at that point. So I think we saw what I kind of expected. Like I said, Jekyll and Hyde lineup, Jekyll and Hyde performance, really. But yeah, those fullbacks definitely leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah, they do. And Jack, I want to come to you on this as well, because that first half, it felt as if, even though Fulham had a couple openings to start with, it felt like we were quite fluid when we actually looked to attack Fulham. And Harry Kane missed a gilt-edged chance early on, and then of course Son put another one on the plate for Dele as well. Do you think that Jose Mourinho is somewhat changing his approach in some of these matches, or is it simply just down to the level of opposition that we've seen in recent weeks? Because on the front foot against Burnley, of course, it goes without saying, on the front foot against Wolfsberger, and then first half, I wouldn't say we parked the bus. I feel like we very much did try to get at Fulham. Do you think there's a slight possible change in approach, or is this just, I don't know, like we're playing a lower side and the expectation is on us to go for these teams?
I wouldn't think it's because they're lower side, because we did play Fulham at home and we set up quite differently in that second half. You could see the difference between the second half and the home game and the away game. You could see sort of how deep the midfield and how close they sit to that defense and how deep that back line is. And in the Fulham in the game against them yesterday, Fulham were carving us open because we weren't set up like that in that midfield at least, and they were playing through us a lot. And whilst they've been decent at that of late, that is because we haven't approached. I genuinely think it's because we're approaching games differently now. Obviously, in the first half, we saw how we play. We were pretty much in control of that game for the entirety of that first half. But I think we lost control purely, like that was touched on earlier. Fatigue, tiredness. We have played the most games in Europe out of any team this season. Our fixture list started pretty early. So, yeah, I definitely think there is this change of approach because, well, what we tried before wasn't working since December. So, yeah, there is a change. Slightly, but I won't hold my breath too long.
Yeah, neither will lie, to be honest. Neither will lie. For me, nothing changes with our manager. I don't know if you lot feel the same, but nothing changes with me. The only thing for me that will change is whether he does enough to stay in the job between now and the end of the season. And the hope is, even though I don't want him here, the hope is he does do enough to save his job, because that will mean that we're in a strong position. That will mean that we've probably maybe won a trophy or two and we've got Champions League football in the bag. So the hope is that he can continue the turnaround, or the mini turnaround that we're seeing. In fact, I even feel sick calling it a turnaround because it's Burnley, and fair enough, Fulham was always going to be a difficult match, but it's Burnley and Fulham. Let's be real. I still think there's more to come, and I'm hoping there's more to come from this team as well. But Owen, I want to come to you on another player who started. We spoke about his start. Dele, obviously instrumental in the goal. I felt it was a bit unfortunate that he didn't get the goal awarded to himself as well. I felt like that would have really done his confidence a world of good. But what did you make of his performance yesterday before he got substituted?
I think in the first half, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised to see him start. Again, I thought Fulham was a much more unfavourable game for us than Burnley. Like, I feel like they're playing much better. I thought they were always going to exert control. So I didn't think this would have been the game for Dele. However, yeah, he started. He took about, I'd say, 10-15 minutes to get into the game. I didn't really see him too much in the opening period, but what I saw him do is he started to drop into, deeper pockets. He was getting closer to Hojbjerg and Ndombele, picking up the ball, passing it off. He was releasing it a lot quicker than he has done in previous games before his heavy links to PSG. Made quite a few decent defensive recoveries as well. I can't remember the exact stats, but he was first for our team for defensive actions, tackles, interceptions, which is pleasant to see. I think he dispelled a little bit of a myth, or a bit of a criticism of him is that he can't necessarily play as number 8 or advanced 8, or as some say an 8.5. But I believe he can. Like, he looked very comfortable in tight spaces, deep for me. And let's see, the goal itself came from, I believe he quickly intercepted an attack from Fulham, passed it off. Then we got the ball forwards to Son quickly. And I've been talking as far as a year ago, some of the first conversations some of us had in the Discord before Touchline Hotspur was properly even set up was, we can get the best out of Dele by essentially getting that link up with Son and Kane going again, and particularly the one with Dele and Son. So it was a pleasure to see that fluidity again. Obviously, they combined eventually for the goal. I'm gonna give Dele the goal just for the sake. It did look like it was gonna. It did look like it was on target. To be fair, I didn't feel like it was a reach. It was harsh that he had it taken off him, but regardless, he looks a lot closer to his old self. He looks like he's playing with a smile on his face. He's active on social media, which is positive. Kind of just quote tweeting the goal, being happy with the team's performance, and he's man of the match. I don't think he was man of the match, but the fans voted him. Like, fair play.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah, it was the fans thing. It's similar to how Oliver Skip keeps on getting man of the match for Norwich. Like he's good, don't get me wrong, but yeah, maybe not so much man of the match. Because I felt like he did fade in the second half. Probably just through a little bit of lacking of match fitness. Again, Fulham are a great team in terms of like controlling the game. Like I felt like Lamina and Loftus-Cheek did a good job, and then Guisa came on and did his thing. But yeah, like he was suffering as a result of the rest of the team fatiguing around him. Like they might have been able to carry him a bit with his lacking of match fitness if the whole team was playing a bit better or were a bit sharper. But again, with Fulham exerting the control they were, he came off at the right time. It's a performance to build on for sure for Dele. Like I see him playing. I see him probably even starting again against Palace, which would be another favourable game for him. I'd give it out of 10 a strong 7. I'll give him a strong 7.
Dave, Jack, what's your thoughts on Dele?
Oh,
yeah.
You know what? Like I said,
we don't have to agree. By the way, like this is why we love.
Yeah,
this
I know. I think I give him credit for getting into the right positions. I still felt that even though he played well, I still think he was behind the game pace for what we needed. And there were a few moments where I felt like he probably could have shifted the ball a bit quicker or made better decisions. And again, is that a match thing? He hasn't played many games, or he's just kind of coming back into the team, building up that chemistry again. I like the fact he is putting in work on the other side of the ball. I said this in my Wolfsberger review about seeing him actually like leading the line and leading the press and just like kind of directing things from that perspective and taking the ownership of his role in the team. And I think that's what he didn't do enough for me, and I wasn't necessarily unhappy with him not playing, because when he was coming in, it was just a bit big bollocks kind of approach. I mean, but no, he seems to have picked up. I would like to see him against Palace, because I think he will thrive in that scenario, where there won't be a lot of space, and there'll be a lot of tight positions to have to collect the ball in and play people in. Hopefully, if we've got the likes of Reguilon and Aurier playing, we can get a bit more overloads and whatnot. And I think that suits him. Again, he's one of them players, a bit like Ndombele, when Ndombele was struggling in the 10. If your fullbacks aren't getting the ball forward quick enough, he's negated. Half of his game is reliant on having that pace in the team in terms of the movement of the ball. And we didn't have that enough yesterday, I think, in some moments. So I think that kind of let him down. But yeah, it's good to see him back. Good to see him knocking around the team. Like again, when you think about other options that we have in that position, there's nothing there. So we do need him to really kick on. So yeah, I'm holding my breath. We'll see.
Yeah. I think Jack definitely feels similar. To be honest, we've had discussions about Dele. There was one thing you mentioned, Owen. That I wanted to go back on Dele playing the 8.5 role, and I think it's easier to do this against Wolfsberger, where you have much more time on the ball, because I felt like Ali's actions on the ball in that game were very, very precise. There was no Dele dallying, as I call it. There was no overplaying the ball, wasting time in possession. But the problem with Dele is, can he do that when he's under significant pressure in the league, where they're going to be at your heels? And I think that's, for me, I don't think he does it well enough to justify playing him as a number 8 option if we were to change formation right now. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Jack?
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Dele Alli was one of my favorite players. We all loved and adored him, and that's why I'm extra harsh on him, because he is just a shadow of that person, and I just get onto him a lot because of that. And I definitely don't see him as an 8 or 8.5. He's definitely a number 10 and onwards. I always think he's a sort of second striker, really. He's a very instinctive player. He gets on the end of things. He knows how to make smart runs, smart dashes in and around that back line. He's not blessed with pace or anything, but he's got that brain when he's in that final third. The reason why I say I don't want him anywhere near that centre circle is because while he can be good in tight spaces, he can hold the ball a little bit, when players are on him or what have you. Like he said, he doesn't release the ball quick enough. He doesn't have that sort of passing range, I'd say, to break lines like Ndombele has, like even Højbjerg has shown. I don't believe that he has that in his locker. I don't think he can do that consistently. I just want to see him play in his old role. I just want to see that role exist again. That role come back to life almost. I don't think we have seen that in a couple, 2.5 years almost. That's the Dele I want to see. And as long as that position is dead, as long as that system is dead, I can't see Dele Alli thriving at this club personally. But he can make a good squad player if he does keep up performances like this. I did say, I did tweet, I think, Toby, you replied to this, saying, why am I so grumpy all the time? When Ali scored in training, I was like, do this against the Premier League opponents. He did it. He did it. Now the next step, he's done. Okay, he's scored against Farmers now. He scored against Fulham. Or I'll count it. Now do it Now do it consistently. Now's the next step. Go, because you're still half the shadow of the player you were.
Yeah, I still think with Dele, with Dele, I think it's an interesting one, because for me right now, if I had a gun to my head, I would still look to try and cash in the summer and get a much more not robust, a lot more sort of flexible midfielder, because I feel like with Ali's strengths, because he is creative, he can pick a pass to a certain extent. He has got some sort of trickery about him, and he's a good finisher. But because of those deficiencies he lacks in a midfielder's game, in like a number 8's game, you would feel like you want someone a bit more adaptable to play in that position that can give you what Ali can give you in terms of the output or the expected output. But for the time being, he's here. He's not going anywhere until the end of the season. And I really think now, players like him and Gareth Bale, they were players that were either cast aside or just we didn't believe in to contribute to the season. And now I feel like it will make us a completely different proposition if we have even 70% of the old Dele coming back into form, and even 50% of Gareth Bale, because it will add so much more to our team that we've lacked all season. We've not had to rely on Ali, or we've not been able to rely on Ali this season because, well, we know about the manager and his tips with Ali, and we know that Ali simply hadn't played well enough in some matches. And with the same for Gareth Bale, we know that first it was fitness, mentality, whatever. But the point is this: we have them available now. We have them back into the fold. So we need them to deliver. Yeah, we need them to deliver. And I think the next point I wanted to talk about with Fulham is, just what's you lot's thoughts on the top 4, really? Like, where do you think we are right now in the race for the top 4? Because I had to bring it up. Sorry, Jack. I had to bring it up because, listen, the table tells us we're 5 points behind 4th spot with a game in hand. The table tells us we're 2 points behind Liverpool with a game in hand. The table tells us we're, 3 points behind Everton with a game in hand. So mathematically, we are still in the race. But I don't know whether we truly believe that we're going to finish top 4. I don't. But I want to hear you lot's opinion.
It's looking scarily possible. I'm not saying we're going to do it, but the more games that we've been playing recently, so obviously our next 2 games are Palace and Arsenal. I'm quietly confident for them. For me, it was more, obviously we've got obviously not that far to go for 4. So if we win our game in hand, it's 2 points. And for me, I just didn't see a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see Man United or Leicester coming close to dropping out, and I see Leicester have had their injuries now. They're starting to fade off. United have had Pogba injured and not been able to get playing properly since. They're starting to wane off. And even like listening to Moga, like they think they're going to drop out the top 4, or they've got a good chance of dropping out. So when I hear that, I start to get more quietly confident. And looking at our running as well, the only big teams we've got to play are, funnily enough, Man United and Leicester, obviously after Arsenal, if you consider them a top team. So if we can still keep on building on these performances and going into these games and getting results, then we've got to be optimistic about it, because I still feel like even though the Europa League is probably still a better chance of qualifying for the Champions League, it is still, in a sense, like we have to do more than we'd have to do to finish 4th in the league, if that even makes sense. But yeah, it's looking scarily possible. I'm trying not to get too optimistic. I want to judge it more after our next 2 games. I do want to judge it more after our next 2 games, but it's looking scarily possible, because it's reminding me now of the 18-19 season where just no one wanted to finish 4th, and we somehow managed to shithouse it without winning really an away game towards the end. So yeah, if we can start picking up some points in what looks like a season similar to that, then we can at least put ourselves in a good position.
You know what it is though, and I'm gonna come to you on this, Dave. I feel like last season, and a large part of this, the December, January, and even February run this season has just told me that I don't think we have a team capable of putting together the consistency that we need to solidify a top 4 spot. But such as the reduction in quality of some of the sides we've seen this season, that it literally just takes 2-3 wins straight to put yourself back in contention. Like Thomas Tuchel's only been here for 6 weeks, and now everyone's thinking Chelsea are going to finish even 2nd, let alone 4th. We've only won 2 games straight, and we're now what? we were 9 points behind West Ham when they beat us 2 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden we're 2 points. I think it's we're 2 or 3 points behind West Ham with the same games played. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's very, very tough, but it's just a case of whether Spurs can not only establish some level of consistency, but maintain that level of consistency as the top 4 race goes, sort of like up and down, up and down, up and down. I don't know, Dave. What's your take on the top 4 battle?
Yeah, like I think, like Owen said, it's scarily possible. I don't think we're going to get. I think 5th. I think we'll go on a decent enough run and then end up 5th, because I think another team that's already above us will go on a decent run. Now, I know everyone looks at Leicester and say they're probably most likely to drop out because of the injuries, with Maddison out and Barnes out, which is a massive loss for them. But like, I can see, other teams as maybe just doing enough to keep it competitive. I don't think, because what we 8th or 9th, whatever, you still need 3 teams for a bad run, Yeah. But what keeps it interesting is the fact that everyone is capable of getting a bad run. When Liverpool beat Palace, 7 or whatever, they pumped past them. No one thought on that day that Liverpool were then going to lose 5 games in a row at Anfield. If you said that to them back in December, it'd been crazy. And you see Man United obviously struggling without Pogba. I think it keeps it interesting. And yes, we've got Man United. Yes, we've got Leicester. I think Leicester's the last game of the season.
Last game, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But it's the other games. Those are the ones that usually scare me. Do you know what I mean?
Like the Everton's away and the Villa's away. Villa aways are game in hand. A lot of people think game in hand's in the bag. It's Villa away.
I looked at that because that's supposed to be earlier in the season when the virus hit them. But you look at it and go, all right, great. You've got a game in hand, and you look at what it is. It's Villa away. And look at Fulham. Look at all the teams that's given us problems over the past few weeks. They're teams that have players that are not afraid to run at us. What do Villa have? Players that are not afraid to run at us. That's what our fullbacks or our defenders don't like. You know, when it's all in front of them, they're fine and they look, you know, like world beaters, a bit like Burnley. Do you know, it's all in front. But Fulham, you know, Lookman and, you know, Loftus-Cheek, they're making those runs at us, and it forces us back. And, you know, from a coaching perspective, that's where we fall down. So Villa's not going to be an easy game. But I'm looking at Newcastle away, right? Before that used to be a game that you think, oh, might sneak a draw or whatever, because it can be a bit of a weird one to go up there. They get a bit fired up with the crowd. But no, I don't fear Newcastle, and we shouldn't fear Newcastle. We should look to get a positive result there. And some of the other games should be straightforward. You know, Sheffield, Leeds. I think Leeds are a bit of a weird team anyway. Again, it's about just playing yourself into the competition. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think if there is, funny enough, out of the managers in and around that pot, so you got Moyes, you got Mourinho, you got whatever, out of the managers in and around that little race to fourth, if there was a manager who knows how to really get a team fired up for that one game to win, it probably would be Mourinho. So we'll see what happens.
Wait, I'm holding my breath for that one, to be honest. Jack, I know your thoughts on this already. I'm not even going to ask you about this because I think you're pretty much aligned to my school of thought on this one. I want to speak to you about something else. 3 consecutive clean sheets now with Alderweireld and Sanchez. Well, mainly Alderweireld. I think I want to ask you 2 things. Does this reinforce the opinion that he has to pretty much start the majority of Premier League matches? And 2, similar question to as I asked to Owen, what is the centre-back pairing that we have to prioritize between now and the end of the season? Because Davinson Sanchez, again, a lot of people said he played well yesterday, but good first half and then chaotic second half. He made a couple good blocks, but you know, I have a soft spot for the guy, but he's just so erratic. And he literally, the same way I called Lucas Moura agent of chaos, Davinson Sanchez, he is an agent of chaos. Like, he doesn't even mean to do it, but because he doesn't use his brain quick enough or shuffle his feet quick enough, it literally just causes panic for no reason. So give me your thoughts on those 2 points I've just mentioned now.
You're right. You can never trust back any of our centre backs, really, even Toby, I'd say. It is just a matter of, it's not a matter of who's the best centre back partnership, it's still who's the least crap. And I think the least crap is right now at this point, right this minute, it is Toby and Sanchez. Past few games, when was the last time you've seen that from this team? It was when at the beginning of the season when Dyer and I don't want to say it, I shouldn't have said his name, but when Eric and Sanchez were playing at centre back.
Really, then. Eric? Just good.
Eric. And literally, right, Laurel and Hardy, basically. They're just Laurel and Hardy, essentially. But
Ed and Eddie, man.
But yeah, we have to go with them. It's all we've got now. We've got to take what we can get. And, you know, I think because they're two very different centre-backs as well. You got Toby, who's not quite got the physical presence that Sanchez has, even though I don't think Sanchez is particularly quick, which some people think he is. I genuinely don't.
He is, to be fair. He is.
At me next time, Jack.
He's not that strong either. I don't know if he's not that strong or if he's not smart enough to use his body well.
He's definitely quick. Do you remember that little when he caught up Rashford in that Project Restart game?
Yeah. He's rapid. Well, not rapid, but he's quick. He's got pace.
It's something it doesn't show sometimes, but maybe he just slow up there.
I think because he's flat-footed, a bit like the other guy who was playing right back last night. You don't see his first 2 steps. Right?
Say his name.
No. The guys, sorry, content. I know, Jack, you were talking about. This started a long time ago, right? There's always one player that I'm like, I can't do it, right? Before it was a draw, aka Llorente, but when he started shooting from the hip, I forgave him. Yeah, when I forgave him with the whole Man City thing. Okay, cool. But no, I think because he's flat-footed, I think Sanchez really He is quick, but his reaction is so slow. That's what probably holds him back.
Yeah, I think with Sanchez, it's a weird one because Jack knows I've defended this guy for so many games, weeks, months, years, and you just can't defend the indefensible anymore. But he played well against Burnley, albeit they didn't have their most physical weapons against us. And before that second half of chaos started, he was looking pretty good in the first half, making a couple interceptions. And in theory, like Jack said, our least diabolical pairing should be Sanchez and Alderweireld. It should be, because for me personally, Davinson Sanchez is a better centre-back than that other guy, the one that came from Sporting Lisbon. And Alderweireld, he is still our best centre-back, on the ball, most composed, and reads danger the best out of the lot. And it was our best centre-back pairing for me last season, but that's not really saying much because we were horrible defensively last season. And the problem with Davinson Sanchez this season is he's just not been good enough. He's literally been awful in like 90% of the games I've watched him this season. He's not been good enough. But if there's a chance that he can get to even a good level where we're not seeing as many errors, notice I said no errors, because I don't think it's possible for someone like Sanchez to not make any errors from now up until the end of the season. But if he can make as few errors as possible, then so be it. But I also think Mourinho should prioritize maybe Toby and Rodon, or maybe Toby and Tanganga, or maybe Tanganga. Just prioritize a centre-back pairing that gives us as much chance as possible of defending well and not making mistakes, not making brain-dead, unforced errors. So if that means Davinson Sanchez is out of the team as long as he's played, so be it. He, by all accounts, I don't think he deserved to start against Burnley. I don't think he deserved to start against two back-to-back Premier League matches based on his performances this season. He's been no better than Joe Rodon. He's been no better than some of the other guys that we got there as well. So I'm not going to mention names, but listen, you just got to play. You got to play what can win us matches week to week, whatever you want to call it. And the hope is that partnership either blossoms or Jose Mourinho, at the risk of destabilizing the team, switches it up and plays a centre-back pairing that doesn't give us as much stress as we've seen this season. But anyway, the last part,
Toby and Tanganga, I want to see.
That would be good. That would be good.
We complement each other. I think Tanganga's got what Sanchez has in speed and strength without the mental collapses. And I think we've got 10, 15 games left, or however many games if we get a good cup run. You know, I think we could use this time to now blood in Tanganga against easier competition. Okay, but I think he will do well in his more natural position. Don't
you think that with Tanganga though as an option at centre back, it leaves us a bit exposed in right back because of the other guy? Obviously, Aurier can't play every game, and the other guy, Matt Doherty, I'm going to say his name because I'm still going to give him that little bit of respect.
Call him Matthew.
Don't you think there's a risk there that like it leaves us exposed when he plays then, and we don't have that luxury of playing Jaffet in the right back role, because he has done very well when he's played in that role for us?
It does. You got to be creative with your squad. You got to use your squad well. But I'm thinking if we're looking at Premier League and you're saying, right, we're going to try and make a push for top four, you need to have your centre back pairing on lock. You know, we can get away with some of the donuts in the Europa, for maybe the next round or two, depending on a favourable draw. But I think in the league, we should be looking at it and going, right, every Saturday, this is the guys that we're relying on. And actually, the difference with these clean sheets has been Toby. He's the most experienced. He's a leader. He communicates better than anyone else. You know, you think back to the West Ham game when the goal went in. You know, Eric and Davinson were just pointing at each other. You know, it's all this me, you, all this kind of stuff. It's just, it's mess.
You have Eric Dyer, who just blames everyone as well. Just generally, he's not taking any responsibility. Have you guys seen that quote?
Yeah,
we've been singled out. Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Honestly,
great.
I don't have personal hate for any human being in life. I like to keep it very, just civil. But Eric Dyer is getting close there because honestly, how can you not take any accountability? And how can you be almost pointing a finger at Tanganga, who's a young player, right? Not taking any accountability at all. You've been responsible for a crap load of goals that we've conceded. But anyway, I got a question actually. What do people think of the suggestion that I've had, which I refuted? Ben Davies at centre back.
No.
Yes. In a back three, yeah.
Not in a two. No, never.
Not in a two. Never in a two. In a back three, I don't think he's really been bad there, and I think it suits him because he gets way too isolated at left back. He's too limited to play left back or left wing back in particular. But like I was even thinking like the other week when we were still obviously just committing defensive errors every single week, that a back three would suit us, obviously only with Reguilon and Aurier playing, because it would give our defense a little bit more protection. We sacrifice midfield anyway, so a two in there doesn't really change much. We have great chance creation from our fullbacks when Reguilon and Aurier play, and it then facilitates our forwards a bit better, so it would give Son a little bit less defensive responsibility, because I felt like he had become a bit of a luxury player in recent weeks. Like obviously Ben Davies has been poor, but he gets isolated quite a lot. It was even spoken about in the WhatsApp chat yesterday. See, Son doesn't necessarily track back that much, and I feel like it would just facilitate the freedom of some of our more luxury attacking players. And to be fair, whenever I've seen Ben Davies play left of a back three at centre back, he's actually been decent. I'm not going to say he's been great. I think he's been decent. I can't remember him making any glaring errors there. He tends to just make glaring errors when he gets isolated out on his own flank. But yeah, when he's got that protection at left centre back, I think he, as I say, he does pretty decent.
Yeah, you have to get the lineup really right. You can't go next to Eric. You'd have to have a Toby and I don't know at the right centre back, maybe Sanchez or Tanganga, who are quite.
I'd have Tanganga.
Yeah, just they. I think that fluidity in Tanganga's game to go out into the flanks and be comfortable to take on wingers if it be.
Exactly what I was thinking.
That's what I love about him. When obviously his first Premier League game was against Liverpool, wasn't it? In Mane and Salah, and he did very well with that. So, he's got that in his game, so I'll trust him in that back three. Davies has played better, apart from the Wolves game, but then he did have the other guy.
It's one of his less crap positions, that's what I'll say.
You put him at the worst position ever.
It's just,
my life.
I think it's not a thing that I wouldn't necessarily use him there to keep him on next season to play him there. Don't get me wrong. It's just I feel like that would be the best way to utilize him between now and the end of the season.
My only thing with that,
I'm still not keeping him.
My only thing with that is that it means we play a back three, and it means that we take away a position in midfield for me, which isn't the worst when we're playing against inferior opposition. But if it's a system that we need to rely upon, I would like to get as many offensive-minded midfielders on the pitch or offensive-minded players on the pitch where possible. And I don't think Ben Davies, as decent as he has been in that position, I don't think he's that good, or the system is that what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think the system, that three in the back system for us, is that supreme that it would override the option to play a three-man midfield as well, especially when you got Lo Celso coming back from injury. You got Ali looking like he's going to get in a bit of form as well. But listen, he does well in a three-man in a three-man defense, centre-back pairing anyway. But yeah, I'm done speaking positively about these players anymore. Like the sooner we get rid of them, the better. There was one point I want to talk about because Fulham, we need to give them credit. They played really well in the second half. They did, and let's be real. They should have. That we shouldn't have won that game. We shouldn't. We'll be happy with 3 points, but we should have won that
we did
game.
enough to win, though.
Pardon?
We did enough to win, though.
Yeah, but you say we did.
But that referee decision is that what you were going to get to?
Exactly. That's what I was going to get to. So, yeah, in terms of chances created, we created 3 clear-cut chances and we missed, I think we missed all 3. Kane missing 2 out of the 3. But let's be real, they scored a legitimate goal and it got ruled out. So I wanted to get you lots. In fact, I'm going to pick one person so we can move on to the Palace game afterwards. I'm going to pick you, Jack. What's your thoughts on this rule then? Because it happened to us last season against Sheffield United. Ridiculous decision. And it's happened yesterday as well. And then it's now prompted them to change the rule to make it so that any future incidents like that, it won't be deemed a handball offence. But it's all just wishy-washy now. I feel like they're just making it up as they go along.
Well, it's ridiculous that they're getting rid of it midway through a season. It's an absolute joke. You have to have consistent. Even if you're going, rules change. Rules have changed over football for decades since the inception of the game. Change it at the end of the season, or they should have changed it at the beginning of last season because it clearly was flawed. You know, we saw what happened to us and what happened in our favour as well with the against City as well at the last minute. So it's a terrible rule. It always was a terrible rule, and we took it while it benefited us. But we're absolutely, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, and I do feel for Fulham fans. I do feel for Fulham. We did, like Owen said, we did enough to win, but also I believe we did enough to lose the game as well. To be honest, the way we played in that second half, it's all swings and roundabouts. It's gone against us, and it's gone in our favour this time. And yeah, I genuinely feel that Fulham were done there, and the decision at the time in its moment was by the letter of the law correct, but the very next day, not even 24 hours pass, and it's unlawful. Like,
I just think some people just need to use common sense, man. They really need to use common sense. And I know rules are rules, but you have a brain. Like, it's not like these things happen all the time in football. They are unique circumstances. And for me, in unique situations, you're allowed to bend the rules if it's going to be the correct decision. Because following the rule to the point where you know something's wrong, but you still do it because the rule tells you to do it, tells you that the rule is flawed. So for me, I just feel like some of these referees, they need to exercise some common sense now, because some of these decisions are actually laughable.
It doesn't exist though. You've seen, I mean, how the pandemic's handled. Common sense doesn't exist.
Yeah. You're right. But listen, like we said, lads, not the best of performances, but 2 wins in the bank, 2 consecutive wins, 2 consecutive clean sheets. Fun fact, that's the first time we've done that in the league since November 2020. So listen, I don't know whether that's a good thing that we've done it or a bad thing that it's taken us so long to do it. But listen, we move, man. And we got Crystal Palace now with a view to make it 3 consecutive wins on the trot as well. I would say this is probably... Palace picked up a little bit of form in the last 2 or 3 matches, but I would say this is a favourable game to have at home when you look at how Crystal Palace have played this season. Dave, I'm coming to you on this, and the key word I want to mention is rotation. Rotation. Who do you expect to come in beyond the usual suspects, and why?
So definitely fullback changes. Need Aurier and Reguilon back in, because just watching, Roy Hodgson 4-4-2, it's going to be tight banks, not a lot of spacing. You need to create overloads, and having attacking fullbacks is going to create those overloads, whether it be in the box or out wide, to get just some real positive momentum. We can't afford to go into the game with, like, one side lopsided. We have like Aurier one side and Davies on the other side. I don't think we should do that. I think we should definitely go with a positive mindset. I won't say attacking mindset because it's Mourinho, but definitely a more positive mindset, having those Reguilon and Aurier. Obviously, Højbjerg and Dele should be fine to start. I think I'm a bit torn. I'm not sure about Ali from the start. I earlier today I would have said Ali, but I don't know. I think it's going to be Mora. I think, to be honest, one of Ali or Bale would be dropped and Mora will replace them. So it could be Ali starts and it'll be Mora on the right wing. But the key is definitely keeping Kane. I know he had a bad game last night. I'm keeping him. Vinicius, I don't think his game is suited to this particular fixture. Palace are going to be quite strong in the air. Palace are going to like you to play in front of them. You know, Vinicius isn't going to drop deep with the kind of skill level that Kane does. So he's not going to pull them out of position too much. So I think we need to have someone with Kane's IQ in there. And obviously, hopefully, Son can do what he does best, which is, get us some really crucial goals. So I think the main thing for me is the fullbacks. And it'd be interesting to see if he sticks with Basque, as they're calling it online.
Yeah, no, I'm going to come to you next on this, Owen, but just to give my piece, I'm going to throw a curveball. I actually think both Dele and Bale will be benched for this game. I think one of them will come on in the second half, but I think he's going to go with Lamora. I think he's going to go with Lamora to start this game. I can definitely see Lucas Moura starting, and it's just up to Jose whether he starts Lamela. But I think both of them will start this game, will come off in the second half, and I think one of the two will start against Dinamo Zagreb at home on Thursday ahead of the North London derby. But now I wanted to get your take on on the team as well. Obviously, Dave's made a big point on the fullbacks. We know the qualities that they offer us going forward. But what attacking combination would you go with for this game, and why?
I would probably I've accepted that either one of Dele or Bale would have to be dropped for this. It is a favourable game, but still we need some energy off the ball in there. I think it should be Lamela to come in for one of them. I was more impressed. I've been more impressed with his cameos much more than I have been Lucas recently. I think Lucas has been honestly quite bad. I didn't think he was good against Burnley, Everton. He got away with a load of mistakes. I don't know how he's not justified getting more minutes than Lamela at the moment for me. So I would bring him in. I'd keep Bale on. So I guess Lamela would play the 10, Bale on the right, Son, Kane, and perhaps Dele, Lucas coming off the bench early on if we're struggling for a goal.
Fair. Jack, I want to come to you on this as well. Wilfried Zaha past fit, so we know he's going to start this weekend. What are you worried about the threat that Palace carry in transition, and how best do you think we can sort of counteract their best qualities? Because whilst we know that they've not been at their best this season, they have some threats in that team that can really, really punish us. We saw it the reverse fixture in the second half. They threw everything at us and we just took it instead of attacking back. How do you think we can sort of get ahead of the curve and not have a repeat of what happened at Selhurst Park?
By not doing what we did and soak up pressure and let Palace have the ball. It was just unbelievable. That performance, I looked at Jose and I was just thinking, You cost us that game. You cost us that game because whenever we decided to go forward, we were potent. We did look like we were scoring. And was it Haita had a in goal? Was that his name?
Haita, yeah.
Haita, yeah. Had an immense game. And we shot ourselves in the foot by sitting back and soaking up unnecessary pressure. We just got to play our game. We just got to go at them, get as many goals early as possible, and then we can not sit back, but we can reduce the intensity. That's all I want, and I do want to see it. Obviously, we will see a different fullback pairing, and again, Poch used to rotate his fullbacks. That's the position you're going to exert your most energy on. But having Aurier with Bale on the right, I think that will allow Bale to cut in more and give him that sort of freedom to go at, not maybe go at players, but give him a bit more room to do his thing and pick a pass, pick a cross, pick a shot. That's what I want to see, and I want to see Reguilon as well. I want to see our forwards not drift too wide. I want to see the fullbacks stretch that opposition, seeing our forwards find gaps in that defense, in that back line. That's all I want to see. High intensity, get those goals early, and don't let Palace have the ball.
Don't let Palace have the ball. No truer word was said. I think that's us for today, lads. I think we've spoken about the highs and lows of Fulham, the obvious need for a third consecutive Premier League victory as well. Remains to be seen whether we are 100% genuine contenders to finish in the top 4. But listen, we got a long season left to go, and it's up to the players to prove us wrong. Make us believe that this team are capable of finishing in the top 4. Folks, if you're still listening as well, make sure you join us on the Discord this Sunday. Listen, don't shun us because we're the last game on Sunday. Stay in that Discord after the Man United derby. Make sure you're there to watch the Spurs game. Owen, Jack, Dave, it's been a pleasure, lads. You know the usual, man. Knowledgeable folks, people. Make sure you follow all their socials as well. And we'll be back next week, hopefully celebrating 3 consecutive wins.
Yeah, no doubt. Come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, take care.